Hello, hello, hello. Can you hear me? Emilio?
Again. Hi, Geppi.
Ciao. Can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Emilio, I missed you for an entire long week.
Can you imagine? Now I'm going to miss you for 2 consecutive weeks.
Yes. This is desperate, I must say.
Yeah.
But anyhow, Emilio, we have a lot of guests today.
That's a special episode.
Yes.
This is episode number 11 and a very, very special one.
Yes.
I would say that we go immediately to welcome them.
Yes. Please, Sebbi, ciao Sebbi, can you give access to our guests? Zoe is here, Luke is here.
Hello, Zoe.
Hello.
Hi, Luke.
Hello. Hello, Luke. Zoe is very Christmas style.
Oh, celebrating.
Sunday evening style, Luke.
Yes, of course. Celebrating the last meeting before Christmas.
Yes. Okay, so Emilio, maybe you can explain to everybody what's going on in this episode.
Absolutely. By the way, we have more guests that we expect that they will arrive very, very soon. One more is here, Caterina.
Giovanni. Hello.
Giovanni is also here.
Hello.
Hi, Giovanni.
Hello, guys. I'm in a real happy hour.
We are also in a real happy hour, let me tell you.
In a special shop with many kind of gin.
Very nice.
So,
which is the flow of the... John is also here.
so we'll drink with you later.
Hello, John. Hello.
Hello, everyone. Good to see you.
Wow, this is a very nice background. Come on.
You like it?
Yeah.
Iris is also here. Welcome, Iris. Michela is also here.
Hello, Iris. Hello, Michela.
And still we have more people coming.
Yes.
So let me just explain what we're going to do today. It's a very special episode in which we will present not one paper of the week, but several ones. And in fact, what we are going to do today is to present your paper I like most. So each one of us, of our guests, will present a paper from somebody else, the paper from somebody else that he or she likes most. And that's how we are going to go on with the episode. But before starting, there is the question of the week.
Question of the week, which is very important. Do you feel as a better human being during Christmas time? Yes, no, sometimes. Of course, there is always an option. John, it's sometimes, yeah? Your favorite is sometimes.
Not every Christmas.
Maybe this year.
Seppi, Nisa is trying to get in. Let's see the results, yeah?
The result?
Okay. Yes, 38%. Sometimes, yes, of course.
You know that I'm a big fan of sometimes, and I'm happy when sometimes wins in general.
Yes.
Okay, so your paper I like most, and we start with Nisa Kai, which was one of our guests in the previous episodes. And who selects for Nisa which paper he likes most? It's Luke Thomas. Nisa, are you with us? I think that you are. Not yet.
Not yet. Maybe let's wait for a second, because otherwise...
She said yes. She said that she's with us.
She's present.
Okay. Okay, then fine. Luke,
great.
Are you ready?
Please go ahead, share your screen. I stop sharing. And also unmute yourself and go. Okay, great.
Sure.
Can you see it?
Yes, we can. Very good.
Okay. So this is the paper I like the most from Nisa. And this paper is about this spiral type of melanonychia. What are the key findings? In fact, it's very easy. You're going to see that on images. So let me change the image. You can see on all these images a strange shape of the pigmentation. And if I enlarge this one, you will see even better this zigzag aspect. Can you see it?
Yeah.
And of course, this zigzag aspect is also present on all the cases there. The reason why I liked very much this thing is, in fact, when I saw this paper, I realized that this image I have seen already in many cases, in fact. And but I didn't know. So this is a nevus, and you can see this zigzag aspect on it on the both edges. But this is melanoma. And by the way, here in this irregular pattern with these bands there, you have this zigzag aspect. But I realized when I saw the paper by Nisa that I was stupid, because in fact, I thought it was because my picture were wrong somehow. And I thought this was not interesting finding. And this is why I never acknowledged this symptom in my previous works. So what I've learned, this is it.
Stupido.
So nice. Well, what I discovered is that I am stupid. Thank you very much, Nisa, and enjoy the rest of the show.
Bravo, Luke. Bravo, Luke. Bravo.
We thank you. We thank you so much. Nisa, did you expect that Luke was going to select this one, or you would imagine another one?
No, I expect that because he's dealing with nail matrix.
A little bit.
Yeah. That's why it's not a surprise for me. And we all learn from him. He's not a stupid, and he's our idol. So,
especially Nisa, he's an idol, especially because he's a great guitarist. You know that?
Yeah, I know that. I know that.
So, Luke, thank you very much. I know that you need to go because you have a very important. I have my rehearsal with my band, and I need to join my friends to play music.
Of course,
but maybe
you stay for a moment because now it's your turn. Now,
so I stay for this one and then I leave.
Exactly. Which paper somebody else selected for you? So I share again my screen. And there we go. So you selected for Nisa, and your paper was selected by Michela. So let's see which paper Michela likes most from you. So I have the slides. Michela, I give you the word. You tell me when to change the slides, and I follow your orders.
This is my favorite article of Luc Thomas because I learned so much about the squamous cell carcinoma of the nail. And I prefer this article because it's very important to select a different dermoscopy aspect of this nail tumor that is very difficult to distinguish it. So you can go on. And I love so much. This is my picture because we defined squamous cell carcinoma as a great mime. As you can see, different clinical feature. But the most important now is the dermoscopy. And the paper of Luc Thomas, you can go on, describe completely the correlation. This is more slides together, but this is the first slide on clinical criteria together with dermoscopical criteria. And I think it's very, very important when you approach, because it is very difficult sometimes to distinguish it. And you can see the two important aspects is the polymorphic aspect of the squamous cell carcinoma. And at the end, I completely love the conclusion of the article, as you can see in the last slide, where you can see that the dermoscopy is very important because it gives important information about the selection already of the site of the biopsy. That is very difficult sometimes to have the final diagnosis. So thank you, Luke, because it's a wonderful article for me.
Bene, bene. I like also very much this paper. I also learned a lot. And I also learned that the two most frequent digits for squamous cell carcinoma are these ones. Victoria.
It's not a real Victoria, but yeah. But
Luke,
yes.
Luke, did you expect this paper to be selected? Because I was expecting that Michela would select one of your papers on injecting fillers.
Yes, and also I was afraid she was able to select my very important contribution to the field of itchy asshole. So it's very interesting that she selected something on nails because it's more easy to show in a nice public like yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We thank you very much, Luke. We release you because we know that you need to do your rehearsal. Thanks a lot for being.
Thank you, Luke. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the invitation, and have a nice day. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. It was not so easy because he wrote a lot of papers about nails in my field, so it was very, very difficult. But I think this is the very important article.
It was.
You did well too, Michela. You did well too.
Thank you.
Bene, bene. Grazie, Michela. But I think we have to go on because
we have to go on.
Yeah.
And now we move to Giovanni Pellecani, which is the paper that Zoe likes more from Giovanni Pellecani. So Giovanni is with us, Zoe is with us. So Zoe, I give you the word and just tell me when to move on with your slides.
Sure. First of all, I have to say that this task was very difficult because it was something like performing a systematic review because Giovanni's number of papers is huge. Anyhow, I was able finally to conclude with the paper I liked most. And this was this one, Reflectance Confocal Microscopy Made Easy, the 4 must-know key features for the diagnosis of melanoma and non-melanoma skin cancers. So we move to the next slide. The aim of this study was to identify with a Delphi expert consensus the RCM key features of skin cancer and to test the diagnostic utility for skin cancer diagnosis by novice readers. And this is very important. Next slide. The experts considered that 18 out of 56 features were valued terms for skin cancer diagnosis, and they also grouped these 18 features and came up with 4 key terms, and these were atypical cells, dermoepidermal junction disarray, basaloid cords and islands, and keratinocyte disarray. And then these 4 key features were tested by novice participants. And let's go to the next one. They found out that atypical cells and dermoepidermal junction disarray was present in many cases of melanoma. Basaloid cords and islands were almost a pathognomonic clue for basal cell carcinoma, and for keratinocyte disarray, this finding was present mostly in squamous cell carcinoma. And in the end, the final analysis, next slide, there was a sensitivity for skin cancer diagnosis that reached 91%, for melanoma 93, 92 for BCC, 67 for ACC. And in my view, this paper is extremely important for RCM. Why? Next slide. Because The simplified approach facilitates the adoption of RCM by a broader group of physicians, including novice users, and in my view, the simplified methods of diagnosis aim to bridge the gap between science and clinical practice, and I think that this is a very important aim that we should always keep in our mind when we perform academic work. Thank you, Giovanni, for this paper.
Brava, Zoe. Brava. I think this is very important. I mean, Giovanni, as you all know very well, is the most, let's say, important contributor of the science behind Confocal, of course, together with Caterina. And by the way, they both work together. I mean, at least until now, we will see if this is still the case. Because as you know, Giovanni moved to Roma.
Yes, but Geppi, all roads lead to Rome. So
exactly.
We take also the road of Confocal there, no problem.
Yeah.
But I guess, Giovanni, that you expected Zoe to select a paper on Confocal or not?
Yeah, sure, because there are so many papers of Confocal. I was worried of a few papers from the beginning of my career. that could be really.
Let me share with you a comment that Zoe did to me earlier, saying that having to select the paper from Giovanni is like having to perform a systematic review of the literature. I mean, there are so many that I had to, to search so many papers in order to see which one I prefer. Nice.
Thank you. But I agree. I think that it's a very important paper, and I liked it a lot. Thank you, Doe.
Very good. Okay.
Excellent.
What's going on next?
Next, we move to Caterina Longo. We don't go far away. We're close. Caterina Longo. Who selects? Giovanni had to select the paper that he likes most from Caterina.
This is interesting. I'm very curious about it.
Okay. Yeah. So again, also going through the literature and the publication of Caterina was quite tough, because you see that there is a huge number of paper, and the main topic is skin cancer, dermoscopy, carcinoma, melanoma, dysplastic nevus, etc., etc., etc. So what I selected, please go ahead, a paper on scabies, because Caterina, it is the first paper Caterina published. This is the first one. And they started with confocal microscopy looking at scabies. And you can imagine how important it is to look at scabies with confocal microscopy to see the mite moving inside and saying hello to you. So, being this, I think the first paper of Caterina, I think that she recovered a lot after this with great literature and other beautiful things. But go ahead, Aimilios, go ahead a bit with the slide. Next slide. But, Caterina moved quickly to 100 paper, but Enodlab is still alive. And I got 7 years later that she published again on another bite, the Demodex. So Caterina is the number one, the first publisher of any little animal that is on the skin. So my point is, go ahead, Aimilios. Okay, so there is an unsolved question. What's the next mite she will have? So, Caterina, please tell us.
Caterina is a little bit like a big bird watcher, these kind of guys who go into the forest and looking at the birds,
Exactly, maybe.
Let's see. Now I'm more interested in human beings.
When you are young, you like to taste different things,
Good point, Zoe.
Yes, but everybody, you can imagine Caterina looking at mites with confocal microscope. We know her for the papers, basal cell carcinoma, skin aging, whatever, melanoma, and the top is mites.
Very good, very good. Very nice catch, very nice catch. Okay, now.
Thanks so much. So we move on. Our next guest. I don't know. I knew that Harald would be a little bit late, so I don't know if he's already here or not. I guess not yet. So maybe we change a little bit the order. What do you think, Geppi? Should we change?
Yes. Just go on, and we will come back later on Harald's paper.
Okay. So I just changed the order, and we go here, because both of them are present. So Iris, our dear Iris, is the next guest, and let's see which of the very few papers that Iris published, come on, just like 5 to 10. So John, you didn't have to. I don't know how many papers you did have to go through and screen in order to decide which is the one that you like most. So I give you the word, and you tell me how I move on.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Well, yes, it was a challenge. It was definitely a challenge. And as you know, Iris has published about the same amount as Caterina, or even more. And this year there was tons, but I chose a nice, easy one, just because it's so practical and has good information, especially for those viewing us tonight. And it's this one, together with Claudio Conforti, Roberto Giuffrida, and a bunch of colleagues in Trieste. And it's called basal cell carcinoma versus dermal nevi of the face, and comparing localization, but also dermoscopic features. So yes, we can move up to the next one. And they had 118 BCCs that were histopathologically confirmed, and 77 dermal nevi, mainly confirmed clinically dermoscopically, because of course for these experts it's easy. So let's move on to the next one. And what they found was that the localization was actually a little bit different, and most of the dermal nevi were either on the scalp or on the cheeks and around the mouth, whereas the BCCs were mainly on the lateral parts of the forehead and on the nose, with dorsum and ala. So we can move to the next one. And the dermoscopic features you can see here, if you look at the table number 2 there to the left, it's the BCC features, arborizing vessels, of course, well known. Arborizing microvessels, pretty much very similar. And then structureless hyperpigmented areas were actually the third most common. And this is, of course, the shiny white blotches and strands. Whereas dermal nevi, presence of hair, brown pigments, mainly globules, and then comma-shaped vessels. So really, the vessels, the pigment and the hair versus the structureless hyperpigmented areas and arborizing vessels. So we can move to the last one, just to show an example that I actually took from my own collection. And you can see really that the dermal nevus with the pigment remnants, the brown globules, the comma vessels, which are actually, connected to each other, but still very, easy to spot. But can you spot the BCC?
Yeah.
You can point it out. You see the smaller microvessels, arborizing microvessels. So perhaps not the typical location for a BCC, but this one I liked especially because I'm a Mohs surgeon. And of course, in this area, I call this the triangle of death. It's because they go quite aggressively and quite deep, a lot deeper and a lot more complicated to remove surgically than BCCs in other areas. So very nice paper. Thank you very much, Iris, for publishing this one and all the others. Wonderful.
I have to confess, I didn't see this one. I like it very much. I see this one. Yeah, I like it very much because, the difference in terms of location is very, very nice. Of course, the vessel stuff is also nice, but especially the location is brand new information. Nice.
Thank you.
Great.
Iris, did you expect this paper, the selection of this paper?
Of course, I didn't expect it.
How could she have guessed this one? How could she have guessed?
But I'm happy, and I can understand that as most surgeon, these aspects are interesting. And by the way, I learned something new because I didn't know that the triangle of death is, from a surgical point of view, challenging. I mean, I know that it's challenging anyhow, but this is a particular location I didn't know.
Yeah, for sure.
Interesting.
Excellent.
Bellissimo.
I think that Harald is here. Yeah, I can see.
Harald.
Oh, Harald, you look so sophisticated. Yeah.
You look like a philosopher.
He looks like a painter.
Painter. I agree. Painter.
This is his character. He looks not only sophisticated, he is sophisticated.
He's missing the Nespresso, from the commercial he does.
Yes.
So, Harald, for you, we have a special quiz. So now Katerina will tell us which one of your papers she selected. But we give you one shot, one try. If you're able to find the paper, then you win. What, Geppi, does he win?
Yes, an espresso. You win an espresso.
So one shot, standardization.
Standardization. Okay, let's see if you were correct in your prediction. And there we go. So, Katerina, the word on you.
So first of all, I have to say that for me, Harald Kittler is one of the wisest scientists that I ever know, but he's also open-minded, sincere, smart, funny, and I consider him as a good friend of mine. So this is my first disclosure to this topic.
So you have a conflict of interest?
Of course, and I declare at the beginning, okay? And the other point is that he wrote several papers and basically they were dealing with dermatoscopy, because you know that he likes the word dermatoscopy, and he hates metaphorical languages. So he's more for, other kinds of standardization and languages. He is one of the father of the artificial intelligence in skin imaging. But above all, he's a pathologist, a dermatopathologist, and this is a very big strength because he's able to connect the clinician to the pathologist. So he has several topics, but to summarize, somehow his main ideas on 2022 dermatoscopy and melanoma state of art, I choose a paper published on DPC. That's also a very good point to publish it on our journal. That is evolution of the clinical dermoscopy and pathologic diagnosis of melanoma. This is a very hot topic nowadays because there is a querelle on this topic. It's a burning question whether melanoma epidemic is true or is just a side effect, let's say, of the dermoscopy very early recognition of melanoma. So in this paper, go ahead, Emilio, Harald gave the vision of what's going on nowadays. And if we think and we compare, before the 90s, we had just, a very simple way of diagnosis melanoma with the ABCD rule, with the big tumor that we call doorway melanoma, bleeding and large tumor. And at the end or in the midway of 90s, we discovered dermatoscopy, and Harald was one of the first dealing with the new criterion definition and diagnostic accuracy of dermatoscopy for skin cancer diagnosis. And now what we know is that we are able to detect very thin and very small melanomas, like you can see in this in figure 1 of this paper, that are very small and they are difficult to diagnose without dermatoscopy. But also, as you can see here, also pathologists changed their minds. So pathologists were used to get big tumors, and now they deal with 4 ages melanoma with just, few nests and the typical cells. And pathologists now, they are able to see and to tell that this is a melanoma. So the vexed question whether we do have more melanomas because we are better in diagnosis or just because we overcall melanoma, it's brilliantly explained by Kittler, by Harald. But the other point in my view is that he gave us a vision, not only the reality, what's going on right now. Go ahead, Emilio. But then it highlights in this paper what we need to do. First, he said, dermoscopy needs to be, we need to get more training and expertise to get good diagnosis. Second, we should train better our pathologists. If a pathologist nowadays is not able to call a small melanoma like a melanoma, if he's a lion, he's still a lion, even if he's a puppy, then pathologists need to get a better training and to get another train again back to the school. Third, we cannot be paranoid to miss a melanoma. And this is what I like to give as a personal message, because every day we said, I need to excise lesions because if it's a melanoma, it's a disaster. Overdiagnosis should be undesirable as underdiagnosis, but we cannot be paranoid. And first, he spoke also about money. We know that if we work in a public health system or anyhow, if we get reimbursement for what we do, we need to deal also about budget. And he said that the reimbursement for monitoring technique, total body photography, and dermoscopy should be in the same range of excisions. And this is more true in some countries, for example, like United States, in which excisions are paid and the other techniques are not. And this is actually something that unbalances completely the current actions of clinicians. And fifth, the slides of pathology labs with a disproportionately large number of melanoma diagnoses should be always reviewed by an expert panel. So we need to be more expert as a clinician and as a pathologist to get a good balance between the two.
Brava, Kate, brava.
Very good.
This is a very nice paper published by Harald in the context of a supplement, a special issue just devoted on melanoma that recently was released in Dermatology Practical and Conceptual. And Harald, of course, did a great job in trying to also find good solutions, not only rising the problem, but also trying to find the solution of the problem. Very nice.
Thank you, Katerina. Very nice speak. Thanks.
Thank you to you and to your work.
Excellent. Very, very good. So now we move. Harald is again the protagonist here, but has the second role because the first goes to John Pauli. And let's see which one of the papers of John Harald selected as the one that he likes most. So Harald, please go ahead.
Well, John should guess, or shouldn't he?
Correct. Would you like to make a shot, John?
If I win an espresso, I'm in.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Fantastic. I'm going to guess that it's something on dermoscopic features of melanoma in situ versus invasive melanoma, perhaps.
So let's see. So no.
Good choice.
Dermoscopy, yeah.
For me, you are also the king of telemedicine and teledermatoscopy. And I selected this paper, and this also fits to what Katerina said before, because I like monitoring a lot, and I like it better than excision sometimes. First of all, I'm surgically not very talented. I know this. I'm visually more talented than surgically. And I know I share this with many dermatologists, although most would not say this. So I love a lot monitoring, and this is telemonitoring, and I love this very much because I don't even have to see the patient. And you know what? It's not that I like to speak with patients, and but sometimes not, to be honest. And especially when it comes to a very easy task of having a lesion monitored and deciding whether it changed or not. And having a way to decide this without seeing the patient is, I think, great and also relevant for our times, because, our times are, we want to get the patients out of the hospital. And this is why I like this paper. So please, Aimilios, next slide. So very short, what did they do? They scheduled patients for short-term monitoring, and this was a retrospective study, but those patients were scheduled for short-term monitoring, but the monitoring was not done face-to-face. The monitoring was done by a nurse. I understood also in the hospital, but by a nurse, and I guess that John and the others who are on the paper then reviewed the follow-up image by daily dermatoscopy. And here are the numbers. It was quite a large case series, so to speak. It was retrospective, and it included more than 800 patients. And most of the lesions, of course, were unchanged, but 62 were excised. And this is not here, but of the 62, 27 were melanomas. So the ratio, the benign to malignant ratio, was quite in the range we expect, about 1 to 3. And most of them, 20 were in situ. So, and the next slide, here is some of the examples. These are, of course, what you expect in melanoma when it's changing. And yes, you do not need to have the expert sitting face to face to the patient to make a decision here. And of course, next slide, there were some false positives, meaning nevi that changed. Here you see some nevi. The left one had new black dots and new brown dots. The right one also had new pigment, and these were nevi. We always have this. There are false positives. But as I already said, why I like this study so much, because it is an arrow in the future, I think. I think every method that brings the patient out of the hospital has potential, not only because of COVID, but also because, the resources in dermatology are not increasing, they're decreasing, and any patient who does not have to come to the hospital is good. And I could think of, and this is also why a study is good, because it has potential to come to speak of ideas that spring off this study. For example, the idea would be to have the patients with atypical nevi equipped with a kind of easy dermatoscope that they just put on their cell phone, and where they can do at least the short-term monitoring of single lesions by themselves. I don't know if such a study has been done. I'm not aware of it, but it should be done. This would be also the idea for the next study. Thanks, John.
Thank you. Thank you, Harald.
Thank you so much, Harald. It's actually very, very cool that you mentioned this idea of this next study, because that's exactly what we're studying at the moment. It's it makes me very, very proud and happy that that I kind of think like a mastermind like yours, which is incredible. So thank you so much.
Very good. Who's next, Emilio?
Who's next? Next, Michela Starace is next. And let's see which of Michela's paper Iris likes most. So Iris, please go ahead.
So let me tell you, also for Michela, it was impossible to read all this amount of studies she did. So I came over a paper which for me as a doctor was very useful, and maybe you go ahead. And this is something that is related to COVID. And with COVID, we noticed, during the beginning of the pandemic, new signs, and everybody was concentrating on skin rashes, on the famous COVID toe, and so on. But the group with Michela published recently
a very interesting sign, which they call the red half moon nail sign. So we go back to nail manifestations. And as you know, today is a full moon night. So I thought a moon is a nice theme for today. So maybe you go ahead. And what they reported in this single case report was they observed a very subtle nail change in a patient that was affected by COVID and who developed after treatment a red, band over the lunula. So this is a very, very subtle sign. And let me tell you, I do not regularly look at that because we concentrate on skin rashes and so on. But maybe very rarely we look really at the nail changes we can see in this patient. And go further. So the patient was treated and recovered from the disease. And he had this strange erythematous band on all nails. And in the differential diagnosis of this polydactylous erythronichia, there are many diseases, but in contrast to lichen planus, Darrier, or other diseases, which usually present as longitudinal lines, we have these transverse lines that have not been described before. Maybe we go further. But it seems not to be as limited to a single case, because after the first publication, there were also increasing numbers of publications demonstrating that indeed this has been associated with COVID infections. So next slide. Why I like this paper so much is because it describes a new condition that most probably is underreported because we all don't know what it is or we rarely look at it. So this is the first issue. And the second issue is because I recently saw a patient who developed some side effects from the second COVID vaccine. So she got Pfizer and she got quite fever and the usual things. But after the vaccine, she developed indeed a very strange erythema on her nails. And now at least I have an explanation, or at least I have the indirect proof of concept that this might be indeed a specific sign associated either to COVID infection or one of the proteins that COVID vaccines are supposed to. So sometimes the very rare cases are changing again the thing we work, and that's why I like this so much.
Brava, Iris, and it's very nice that you brought this point, because we were speaking with Michaela recently about a case. We had a colleague who did a vaccination very recently, but he developed exactly the opposite lunula. Instead of the convex in the direction of the distal area, distal region, it was the opposite. So and who knows, No,
but I think it's really something quite actual. And I was never thinking about to look at nail changes too much, because we know the COVID toe, which is obvious. But these are subtle signs. And Michaela, I like this of your group. Of course, it's just a small peak of a big bottle that you produced.
Thank you. Can I?
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you so much to select this paper. When I received the email of this Dermoscopy hour, and I see that I have to review the paper of Luc Thomas, it's normal because I know very well all. It is like a Bible, like a Baran for me, Luc Thomas. But the real problem is when I saw that Iris is allowed, I have to select my paper. Oh my God, I'm completely embarrassed about it. So thank you for everything. And I like this paper. And it is very usually for me to when I visit a patient to see every time nail and hair. So we published a very important paper about hair in COVID. So it is very important for me. And thank you so much for everything, to select this paper, but for everything. Thank you.
Bene, bene, bene. We are approaching more or less the final steps, right?
Yes. And now we go to Susanna, and the person selecting for Susanna the paper that she likes most is Nisa. So Nisa, I give you the microphone, and please tell me when I should go ahead.
Nisa, your microphone.
Nisa, your microphone. Unmute yourself.
Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Are you going to share the slides, or
No, I will do it.
Okay. Susanna has lots of publications also. And when I'm looking at PubMed, this study strikes me most. This is about the dermoscopic structures as predictors of sentinel lymph node positivity in cutaneous melanoma. Next slide, Aimilios. Can I change? Or are you going to change?
I will change.
Okay. Next slide, please. What's already known about this topic? We know that the dermatoscopic features can predict the histopathologic diagnosis of melanoma, the breast wall thickness, the invasion criteria. And what does this study add? I will tell at the end of the presentation what does this study add. So next slide. And the purpose of the study was to evaluate the correlation between dermoscopic structures and the positivity of sentinel lymph node biopsy in combination with histopathological criteria. And the authors aimed to develop an algorithm for the better selection of patients to be subjected for sentinel lymph node biopsy with lower number needed to treatment. Next slide, please, Aimilios. And they included 123 tumors, and 96 of them had a negative sentinel lymph node biopsy, and 27 was positive. And what was the science for sentinel lymph node biopsy, histopathological science? These were absence of regression and presence of ulceration, and also breast wall thickness, as can be predicted. And the interesting point was lentigo malign melanoma was negative predictor of sentinel lymph node biopsy. And the next slide. And dermoscopically, when there is ulceration and when there is blotch, these features are strongly correlated with positivity, and the presence of an atypical pigmented network was associated with negative sentinel lymph node biopsy. Next slide. And the all very well-known dermatoscopic features of melanoma was not predictive of involvement of the lymph nodes. And what surprised me here was blue-white veil, which can be the feature of invasion, but this wasn't predictive for positivity. Next slide, please. And their algorithm, they developed 4 algorithms, and the last one, Scabies one, has the most valuable results when comparing with the others. In the score system, presence of dermoscopic ulceration, blotch, and negative pigmented network, they give some scores, 1 point for the presence of ulceration and blotch, and -1 for atypical pigmented network. And when they at sex, especially they saw that male patients have positivity for the sentinel lymph nodes. And when they at breast wall thickness, the sensitivity and the specificity increases. We can go to the next slide. And here you see the table for the comparison of these scoring algorithms. Scabies has the most specific and negative predictive value when comparing with the others. Next slide, please, Aimilios. And for example, let's have a look at the first example. There's presence of a pigmented network, -1. For the first, there's no network here, so -1. There's no ulceration and there's no blotch. So the score here is -1. And the patient is a male, so we have 1.4 here. And the breast thickness was 1.1, and 2 points come from here. And the breast X score was 2. For the next lesion, the scoring system was 3, and this lesion has positive lymph node biopsy. Next slide, please, Aimilios. In conclusion, they say that male sex and histopathological characteristics such as ulceration and absence of red regression and some dermoscopic variables, which I mentioned previously, show a correlation with positivity. And if the breast sex score was higher than 2, this is especially can be used to select the candidate patients for sentinel lymph node biopsy, and around 41% of the procedures might be avoided with a high sensitivity and a negative predictive value of 98%. And the last slide. In conclusion, they suggest that further studies should be performed to establish whether dermoscopy may also predict survival in patients with primary melanoma. Why I like this paper is nowadays total lymph node excision generally is not preferred by most of the oncological surgeons because of the new therapeutic options, PD-1 inhibitors, BRAF inhibitors, and maybe if we use this algorithm in addition to TART mutation, because some authors said that if the patients have TART mutation, maybe there's no need for sentinel lymph node biopsy also. Maybe these two procedures can increase the survival of the patients for the later stages.
Perfecto, Nisa. Perfecto.
Nisa, very much. I also like a lot this paper, and I also fully agree with this conclusion that it's very interesting to see whether dermoscopy can also predict directly the survival. That would be the next step, and I'm really looking forward to it. Great. Thank you very much. Susanna is not with us, unfortunately, and Joseph, because they could not join the live session. But anyhow, they were the next supposed to be involved in this game. Susanna selected the paper of Joseph that she likes most. And since she's not here, she recorded for us a very, very short video that I will now share. And the video is here. So let's try. There we go.
Okay. Aha.
Hello, everybody. I'm so happy being here with you in the happy hour, talking about the paper that I like more from Giuseppe last year on dermoscopy. And I'm going to talk about this paper in which the authors describe the micro-blotches on dermoscopy of melanocytic lesions. Micro-blotches are defined as superficial millimetric structures with a very well-defined geographical border, only visible under dermoscopy. In this study, they included 165 consecutive melanomas and 241 consecutive nevi from 110,000 database. 6.7% of nevi presented this criteria and nearly 40% of melanomas. Then, in melanocytic lesions, the odds ratio for malignancy was nearly 5.79, and the odds ratio for invasive melanoma 2.92. It's true that the presence of these micro-blotches was also associated with other dermoscopic criteria associated to poor prognosis. Also, it's important to know that these micro-blotches can have some similarities to other dermoscopic criteria as clots or follicular plaques. But however, they are convinced that these micro-blotches differ from these structures because they're a smaller size, the geographical morphology, and the well demarcation. At the histological level, they correspond to two different scenarios: hyperpigmented parakeratosis or consumption of the epidermis. In conclusion, micro-blotches, defined as superficial millimetric structures, very well defined, with geographical borders and only visible with dermoscopy, are correlated with invasive pigmented melanomas. They could be an additional clue for early diagnosis of pigmented melanomas. Very, very happy Christmas to all of you. And I'm so happy that this happy hour on dermoscopy is so successful. See you soon.
Brava Susanna. Mamma Susanna. Mamma Susanna. By the way, I think that these micro-blotches are, let's say, in some way competing with your irregular pigmented areas, Emilio.
No, they are not competing. They are confirming. I mean, it's the same structure with a different name, I would say. It's good to see. So it was initially described for melanoma in situ, but now it seems that it's not only melanoma in situ, but also in early invasive melanoma. So it's good to know that there is a new criterion which looks quite reliable to recognize early melanoma in general. So that's...
May I say one word? What is the histopathologic correlate? Pigmented, pagellate spread? Harald, maybe you?
From what Susanna showed, these sharply demarcated blotches, which are clots, are for sure in the pigment accumulations in the stratum corneum. Otherwise, they would not be so sharply demarcated.
Yeah. Thanks. Stop.
Great. So we move on, and then the next thing to do is to go to Zoe Apala, and we will see which paper Joseph selected as the one that he likes most from the papers of Zoe. So to do it again, I will share a video that Joseph prepared. So here is the video. Here I start sharing. There we go. There we go.
Hello, everybody. I was not able to be with you today. I'm so sorry. I'm so sad. But I have the pleasure to present this beautiful paper by Zoe Apala, co-workers from Greece and Italy. I will try to explain you why I like so much this paper. Well, it's a different sort of a scenarios where clinical-pathological correlation is very essential. You need the two sides of the coin to have a final diagnosis. This is a melanocytic tumor, a very typical lesion, very in favor of melanoma by dermoscopy, but it's full of regression, only regression in here in the dermatopathology. So they cannot conclude without you, without dermoscopy, the final diagnosis of melanoma. And this is just a nebulous component, okay? This is another lesion, very striking by dermoscopy with this hyperkeratosis, very atypical. And this is an nevoid melanoma. So in this strange presentation of the tumor with a lot of vascularization in here, you have to be aware of the situation, and clinical pathological correlation discussion with the pathologist will avoid some wrong diagnosis in some of these cases. Flat pigmented lesion, elderly patient, some chronic damaged skin, always with these images from rhomboidal structures, features of regression, flat lesion, it's acquired lesion. This is very in favor of lentigo malignant melanoma, probably early lentigo malignant in situ melanoma. But in pathology, just are hyperplasia of melanocytes, with not so much atypical. It's the two kinds of information what is concluding the diagnosis of melanoma. This is a strange lesion with this telangiectasia here, a queer lesion, this pink papule in an adult. This is about one tumor, papilloma. Most of the cases are just sporadic, no more relevance, but some few patients may be carriers of mutations in PAC1, and this is the marker that you have to recognize in your clinical assessment, because this is very associated with multiple primary melanoma and some other malignancies. And finally, another scenario, this very striking presentation of an spheroid tumor in adulthood, full stop. We have to excise the lesion, but sometimes it's the clinical-pathological correlation with molecular information, but it's concluding the final diagnosis. In this case, was an atypical spheroid tumor. What I like so much the paper, because it's providing clear messages. Talk to your pathologist, pathologists talk to your dermatologist. You can identify difficult scenarios using dermoscopy before you excise the lesion. Please take clinical and dermoscopic pictures always before you excise the tumor. Otherwise, this information is missing and you cannot have a discussion in these difficult cases. And with this, I wish you Merry Christmas and very Happy New Year. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bravo, Giuseppe. Did you expect this one from Giuseppe?
Well, I could not predict which precise paper he would select, but of course, correlation with pathology is one of my favorite topics. So I'm very happy that he picked this paper for me. I like it a lot. Anyhow, I always try to bridge this gap between clinical and histology with the use of dermoscopy, and this I consider a very useful approach.
Yeah, indeed, summarized very well the message of the paper. Aimilios?
I have to tell you something that maybe not so many people know very well, that one of Zoe's secret passions is pathology. So
I know.
Very much, and she's quite well trained also, but she's also passionate with this correlation with pathology.
She must be a pain in the ass of your pathologist, right?
No, the opposite. Now we're all very good friends. Very nice. So we are pushing at the end, I would say. What's left to do? Hey, my friend, here we are, the two of us. So let me show you which of your papers I like most.
Okay.
I give you a shot to predict. I can only tell you that I selected one, I changed, second, I changed, third, I changed, I stopped in the fourth one.
No, I cannot predict. No way.
You cannot predict. No. The point is that we saw something very similar today because as Giovanni selected Caterina's best paper in Scabies, I also selected how many people know that Geppi Argenziano started his career as a researcher with a study on scabies where they included 25 years ago, 70 patients with scabies. And of course, in 65 of them, in 93% of them, they found something completely unknown up to that moment, which was this one, this beautiful, dermatoscopic pattern that today we know pretty well. At that moment was something brand new. And in my view, this paper, I like it so much because it was very innovative at that moment. And also it was, and that's given, it was practice changing because today we diagnose scabies this way. This is the reality today. So it was really practice changing and also mind changing, because imagine 25 years ago, how easy it was for people and colleagues to accept that for a disease like scabies, we need an additional tool, we will need dermoscopy, and eventually dermoscopy will replace the other ways of diagnosing. So innovative, practice changing, and mind changing, and it gave us the opportunity to observe beautiful aspects, dermatoscopic aspects, but of which I prefer more this one. Probably you can see how many times you can recognize this pattern in this single image. And
you're doing a party, a COVID party.
Exactly.
So Geppi, you know, I didn't know that our career started with scabies for both of us.
Yeah.
We imagine at the end of our career. How can it last? It was.
By the way, I was, let's say, I have to give really credit to Jürgen Kreusch, because actually the idea to use dermoscopy to diagnose scabies was actually by Jürgen Kreusch, and he was a pioneer at that time, and he was sharing his knowledge with us in a course. And but he was just writing just one sentence in one of his papers. Okay, so in some way we had to perform some kind of formal studies in order to convince everybody that this can be used instead of skin scrapings. Very nice. Yeah, good. Bene, now it's my turn, Emilio.
Yes, it is.
It's my turn, and of course, I know very well Emilio's papers, right? And this is very fascinating because I also selected a paper from the beginning of the, let's say, the workload of Emilio. He was with us in Reggio Emilia as a fellow. And he realized that there is a lot to do in the field of dermoscopy for general dermatologic conditions, inflammatory conditions, and so on. And this is one of his first papers in which, he changed dramatically the way of approaching the inflammatory conditions. And nowadays, we all look at with our dermatoscope all these inflammatory conditions. This is from 2012, accuracy of dermoscopic criteria for the diagnosis of psoriasis, dermatitis, lichen planus, and pityriasis rosea. Okay, so this is really a paper which changed the practice, and you can see the number of citations, which is huge. And here, of course, a few of the things that for us now are very clear cut, So dotted vessels in psoriasis, yellow crust in eczema, the colorate, scaling colorate for pityriasis rosea, and the Wickham striae in lichen planus on the skin instead of only in the mouth. So this was the beginning of the changing practice of dermoscopy in the field of general dermatology. Thank you, Emilio. But before closing, I want to share, since today we are not able to speak about the audience cases. Usually they send us cases which we comment during the happy hour, but I have to show this one, come on. This is from Penelope. Thank you, Penelope.
You wouldn't believe if I tell you that I was ready to do the same. I already it's in my desktop now. I was about to show it.
yeah. Very nice. Molluscum contagiosum, a Christmas molluscum. Yeah, very nice. Good. Wow. We did a lot of things, a lot of information.
It was wonderful. It was wonderful. But we can't go without our Kahoot command. Our Kahoot is necessary. Everybody's waiting for Kahoot. So our guests will stay with us for 5 more minutes, I guess. So then we say goodbye all together while this Kahoot game is going on. By the way, our guests can participate.
Yeah, of course. You just play.
Exactly. So here we go. I share the screen again. The attendees know pretty well how the story goes. So you go to www.kahoot, and there you will need a pin. The pin is generated at this moment. It will appear on your screens in a second. Here is the pin, 3869942. And then you
we still don't see the pin, Emilio.
You don't see the pin?
No, we still see the page.
We don't see the pin.
Okay. Do you see the pin now?
Yes, perfect.
Okay.
Very good.
Geppi, I'm not playing.
Yeah, because I'm usually the one doing this stuff, but it's not me this time.
I know who is Geppi. I know.
I also
Antonio, are you there? Yeah, Antonio's there. Yeah. Calling from Napoli.
Okay, so five lesions as every week, one from each day of the previous week: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Tough cases today, I have to say. Yeah.
There is also Lalas, by the way.
Lalas. Yeah. Tough cases.
Okay. So tough cases for our experts as well, right?
Of course, for everybody. But I mean, as we realized, the experts don't have many chances to win this kind of game, because this kind of game requires, requires youth, people that are very fast, that can react very instinctively.
Yes. They are young, Aimilios. Why?
Young meaning 20 years old, 22, 23,
Children, you mean?
Children.
There's also a Caterina Longo that's not me.
Come on, don't worry.
Don't worry.
No, but I'm playing, but with another name.
Yeah, don't worry. Don't be. My mother could be very worried about it. Because she's worried about people stealing your identity online. Okay, maybe we can start, right?
We start. Okay, so Dermoscopy Happy Hour episode 11. 3, 2, 1, go. Monday case. So you have a few seconds to take a close, careful look. And now we go to the voting. Diagnosis.
Hey.
Melanoma, actinic keratosis, seborrheic keratosis, or nevus?
I vote for nevus.
Very good choice. Brilliant idea. Let's see. Okay, that was not a problem for the majority. Seborrheic keratosis with sharp, demarcated borders. Very nice. Seborrheic keratosis. Okay, very good. And now let's see what's going on. So we have Dina. 1, 2, 3, Bart 92, Evelyn 92, and Sid. These are in the leading positions. And now we go to Tuesday. Which I like it so much. I like this case so much, I have to say. So take a look. Okay. And now we go to the options. Tuesday case diagnosis. Nevus, melanoma, seborrheic keratosis, Bowen's disease. Do you think that the majority will be correct?
Not sure. I have my vote, but not sure about it.
Trust the public. Yes.
Oh, yes. Wow.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Bowen's disease.
Beautiful.
With the globules in a linear arrangement somehow, and of course some crusts here. Very good. So let's see what's going on. Bart 92. You see, he was
born in 92. Yeah. Yeah. Born in 92. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. Very good. And let's go to Wednesday. It's on the face. And what you can see. Okay. For me, it was quite challenging, I would say. Anyhow, let's see the options. The options are very reasonable here. You expect that these are the options: nevus, melanoma, seborrheic keratosis, and Bowen's disease.
Of course, here the differential diagnosis is between two options.
Yeah, 3. Why 2? 3.
Well, mainly 4. Oh, very nice melanoma.
Very okay. Quite funny looking melanoma. With Anyhow, easy for the majority. Very good. Excellent. Bart 92 remains, and ugly duck. I like so much ugly duck. Ugly duck. Now we go to Thursday.
Okay.
That should be an easy one.
Yeah.
Let's go quickly. Nevus melanoma, basal cell carcinoma, or like lichenoid keratosis.
Nevus. I vote for Nevus.
Should not be a problem, I guess. 2, 1, and stop. Yes. Wow.
Wow. I mean, we very rarely see this kind of majorities. It's impressive. Wow.
Maybe North Korea, but not. Wow, look, NZ is on fire. Penelope, hello,
Penelope is always with us.
We missed you so much. Come on. Great. So, Friday case, it's easy. Well, quite easy. Only 2 options. Okay. Now, it's not so easy as you imagine, because the question is not if this is a melanoma or not. This is a melanoma. The question is.
Yeah. In situ invasive. Yeah.
That's the question.
But in these cases, it's just a guessing game, in my view. Guessing game.
Yeah.
I would say, okay, I have my vote, but
the majority was correct.
Very good.
It was feasible, obviously.
Very good.
Are we ready to see the podium?
Yes.
Let's go. Podium. 3. Laura.
M.
Laura. 2. Penelope. And
ugly duck. Now we have to see the face of ugly duck. Please.
Ugly duck. Please, if you like, let us know who you are so that you appear on camera and we can congratulate you all together. So let's give very few seconds. In the meanwhile, Geppi, would you like to?
Well, first of all, I need to thank all our friends. Were spending an hour with us on a Sunday evening, sparing time from the buying of Christmas time, right? So let's say you saved a little bit of money. Oh,
there we go.
Ugly duck. Hello. Switch on your microphone. Yeah. Hi. Where you come from?
I'm from Turkey. I'm a student of Nisa. She's my teacher. She's wonderful. I learned so many things from her. Thank you very much.
You see, Nisa, these are really things that are, fulfilling our hearts, right? Yeah.
I'm so proud of her because she generally showed me her results previously, and she was always got the 5 of 5. This time she is more speedy.
Also, I want to thank to all of you, IDS family. I learned so many things from you. And I think that the only good thing about the pandemic is this online meetings for me.
Sure. Thank you for joining us. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Bene, ragazzi, thank you very much. Happy holidays. Enjoy yourself. Emilio, you're frozen.
It's freezing, yeah.
Very cold in Greece.
Merry Christmas to all of you.
Thank you, ragazzi. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. See you all in 3 weeks from now.
Next year.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.